Good morning, everyone. It's 9:30. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. First item is approval of the agenda.
I'll move to approve. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes of October 15th, 2024 board meeting.
I'll move to approve. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Public hearing for rezoning application for land from A1 Ag District to A2 Ag Rural Residential as submitted by Clarence Sanders. We need a motion to open the public hearing.
Motion to open hearing. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We are in a public open meeting, public hearing. Kelly, any written comments? Brad, any written comments? Miranda, any written comments? Okay. Verbal comments. Miranda, you want to take this to start?
This is a rezoning that we held on October 14th with the zoning commission. Sorry. On the rezoning, Clarence is asking to rezone approximately 7.95 acres so they can build a second home. Clarence's home was destroyed in the tornadoes back in 2023, so his son is currently living in the home at 14964 Agency Hedrick, and Wayne and his wife would like to have Clarence closer to them so they could care for them. That currently zoned A1 agricultural, so it requires 10 acres. We're looking at rezoning it to A2, so then they can split that parcel and each have 2.5 acres, so they would meet the requirements for zoning.
You see no other issues with it?
No. The zoning commission was a unanimous vote. There was no members from the public that spoke for or against that night.
Okay.
So their recommendation is approval.
Very good. Other comments? Any comments from the board?
No, I think this is a definite good thing. I've known Clarence for many, many years. I know he made some mistakes, but he admitted to his mistakes trying to get this done.
I made one of those once.
Once, yeah. Mm-hmm. But he's trying to do the right thing and get it done correctly, and he's very deserving of this. So I appreciate everything that's went through. So
good. If there's no other comments, we'll take a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll move to close. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And then we need a motion to accept.
Yes, and if you wish to waive the second reading for that.
And that has to be done in a separate motion, right?
You can do it all in one,
Okay.
to motion to approve it and then waive the second, third reading if you wish to do that.
Well, I don't think there's a reason to do the second or third reading there's no contentment or anything else with it. So I'd entertain a motion to accept the rezoning and waive the second and third readings.
I'll move. You can let Darren have it.
I'll second. All right. Any further discussion or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Number 4, 2080 amendment between Gothic House Welcome Center and City of Eldon. This is really just a simple addition of the address to the Gothic House. They're looking at selling custom wine out there. There's a local winery that's going to label it as Gothic House, American Gothic House wine to get the license for it. The address and everything had to be in it, and this is just to clear that up for them.
Motion to amend it. Second.
Any further discussion or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 5, Burn Justice Assistance Grant, JAG grant, program award between the City of Tacoma and Wapello County. This is something we do every year. The Sheriff Department and the Police Department submit this JAG grant. The city receives about $20,000 out of it. The county receives about $3,565. So this is just approving the signature on that so it can be submitted.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Any further questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution number 48, 2024, abate property taxes for OB Nelson Post 3. Here a year ago, the American Legion bought a small building next to their club. They use that to store wheelchairs, walkers, a lot of different things that the community can use, not just veterans. They will loan it out to anybody that is in need. So they just use that as a storage. And since they are a nonprofit, this just abates their property taxes for this year. And I believe this is the only year we'll have to do that. And then it'll just be that way from here on out.
Motion to approve it.
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Request for payroll approval, new hire civil clerk, and this is in the sheriff's office to fill a vacancy.
And this you have the paperwork on?
Yep.
Kelly?
Yeah.
Okay. Yep, motion to approve.
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Other business, treasurer's investment report, September of 24. Need a motion to accept and file.
I'll move to accept and file.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? First quarter sheriff's report, motion to accept and file.
I'll move to accept and file.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any other business coming before the board?
Good morning. I'm Corey Eberling with Apex Clean Energy and the Dusty Fox Wind Project. Appreciate you allowing me this time to speak to you. I'm actually down here this week to work with a few entities that we work with. One in particular is like the food pantries. We always gear up for doing some holiday donations. We know the food pantries and that have a lot of additional needs during the holiday season, unfortunately. So we're working with those. Unfortunately, I'm having to inform some other food pantries in like Jefferson County and Kit-Cut County that we're no longer in the county, and we won't be, unfortunately, making donations in those counties this year. So, but we are here. Then I'm going to start working on scholarships for the upcoming year again with graduating seniors. That's always a great joy, having been a former coach and substitute teacher, is working with youth and seeing them succeed in the future. So those are a few of the things we're doing right now. We're having great input from our landowners signing up. Land agents had some great reports last week for us on the progression of our wind project. But I just want to bring up that, you know, I don't know if you've had a chance to look at a development agreement, but a lot of that's our project is really hinging on doing something there. We've been here for over a year and a half now, and I know some hiccups have happened, some problems along the way, but we do have to look forward, or we have to determine if the project's viable or not. And so appreciate your time, and have a great day.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Could I ask some questions?
Yeah.
Before you leave, could I ask a question?
Yeah.
We did receive the development agreement. I read it. Do you know how many windmills you'd build per year? What's the rate of growth in that? Do you have an idea on that?
Generally speaking, from what I understand on this project, is basically we will construct the project in a 1-year window, all depending on weather. You know, weather can really change things, and but that's the plan, is to construct within a 1-year time period.
That sounds
Sometimes up to 18 months.
It sounds a little aggressive, but you know what you can do.
Yeah, yep, that's usually what happens.
Okay.
12 to 18 months it gets built. So
And then would you start at a certain area and build out from that? If so, what area would you start?
It all, right now, we're in just the development stage of securing the land. Then when we get a little further along on this, then we do our bat and bird studies. Then we start doing some other design. We have some Met towers up to do some additional wind measurements. And at that point, then engineering will start designing the wind farm, and it just depends where they think is the best location to start. So it's kind of early for that, but when we get closer to that, we will usually sit down with like the board, planning and zoning, because we have to secure the permits then, and make sure we're adhering to everything that we promised to do and that the county has for expectations. So we also will work with the landowners too, because sometimes it's where we designed to place a turbine at this spot X, but yet the landowner says, could you maybe move it here to spot Y? We'll look at that, and landowners a lot of times have a little better idea of drainage tile or other issues that might pop up. We'll look at that and evaluate whether we can do that. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't, but communications is key with them, anything. If you have breakdown in communications, it's never a good thing.
And perhaps my thought is we could say in the development agreement a plan of where you start.
Except there ain't gonna be a development agreement.
So if you have questions like that, please forward to us.
Yeah.
Yeah, there won't be a development agreement. We'll have an ordinance. It'll be 12 to 18 months, and the people will decide. They will vote on it.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Chad,
Yes,
you look like you're just itching to ask questions.
very much so.
Go for it.
Kelly, how's early voting going?
Busy.
Is it,
I think yesterday, at the end of the day, we had processed 4,100 and like say 23 ballots. And that's including with our first mailing. We have like 1,500 and everything else has come in, with people coming into the office. So we're somewhat close to 2020 when everybody got an application in the mail. We did like over 6,000 absentees. I mean, we could get pretty close to that this year.
yeah. So how many people are you averaging per day coming in here to vote?
I would say probably at least 275 to 280 on the average.
Yeah.
Kelly, can you speak just briefly on the process? 'Cause I think there's a lot of people that think that like the people that came in to vote, there's an idea of the direction things are going now, but just kind of what happens to that ballot once they sign it, put it in the envelope, and hand it back to one of your staff.
Yeah, so what they do is they'll come in and fill out the application. We'll give them their ballot to vote. We enter it in the statewide voter registration system so they can see that, yes, we do have their ballot, even though they're there and they voted. And same with mailing. They can go on the Secretary of State's website and they can track their absentee ballot so they can see when we received their application, when it was mailed, and when it was returned to us. When we get those ballots back, we store them over in a locked filing cabinet until election day, or we'll probably start opening the envelopes the day before the election to get them ready to count on Tuesday.
But they won't come out of like the secrecy envelope, correct?
Well, on Monday, they will open the affidavit envelope. They will separate the envelopes from the ballot. And the reason for the secrecy envelope is because it is a two-sided ballot. So that way, when you take the ballot out of the envelope, you don't see how the person's voted. And that's why we separate them out from the envelope. And then we'll take them out of the affidavit envelope to make sure that there's no affidavit tied with the ballot.
Have you had to challenge any ballots or voters? Like, I know they have done in some counties, I think, from the Secretary of State to challenge.
We have not.
Okay.
And a question I was asked this morning, you will take ballots down to the front of the building if they just drive up, they can't get
Correct. If
out.
somebody's unable to, and we'll do this on election day too, that's, we have a sign out in front of the courthouse that if somebody's unable to come into the courthouse to vote, then we will take a ballot down to the car and they can vote it in the car, as well as on election day, they can do the same thing. They can pull up in front of their polling place. The number on the sign is our office number, and then we will get a hold of the chairperson to let them know that there's somebody outside that's wanting to vote.
And when does early voting end?
The last day that you can absentee vote is Monday, November the 4th, the day before the election.
At 4:30, is that right? Or
Our office is actually open until 5 o'clock that day. For anybody who has returned their absentee ballot to us and they did not sign the affidavit envelope, then they have until 5 o'clock on Monday to come in and do that. And anybody can return their absentee ballot to us until the polls close on election day, if they haven't returned it to us by then.
okay.
And so for the people that haven't signed their affidavit envelope, when we get those back in the mail, if they haven't signed it, we try to either contact them by phone, if we have a phone number for them. If we don't have that, then we'll send them a letter, or if we have an email address, we'll send them an email. To give them the opportunity, they can either come into the office and sign the envelope, or they can request for us to mail them a replacement ballot, or they can go to the polls on election day. So that's just a way for them to get their, because we have to have the signature on the envelope in order to count their ballot.
Mm-hmm. So I guess, if you guys hit your number like you did from 2020 for early voting, which is about 6,000, you said, I think, does that make it easier on election day when you have early voting in numbers the way, that it's going right now as far as processing, not dealing, I guess, with as many people maybe as you might on election day?
Well, I know in 2020, we had like 16,000 and some people vote, so there was still 10,000 people that went and voted at the polls. And the only reason I know that is because that was the year we had to do a recount. So, I just, try to tell people that you're probably going to have to stand in line. I mean, there's really no way around it. Just for the simple fact that it's a two-sided ballot. And it's covered, it's full from the front to the back. And if people want to research what's on their or what's on their ballot, they can go to our Wapello County elections page, and all the sample ballots throughout the county is listed on there. So if they wanted to research what their ballot's going to look like prior to election day, they can go do that.
Okay.
Which might not be a bad idea, just because it's so full. I don't know.
Yeah. Darren, I had a question for you. I know you were kind of speaking with Rick Johnson after the economic development session that was a couple weeks ago, about possibly blacktopping Black Hawk Road to alleviate some of the railroad congestion. I think you guys were having a meeting. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah, we had.
How did that go? And did anything come of that?
The railroad has some ideas of how to alleviate the problem on Quincy. We actually have a meeting with them on Thursday after the election, and I'll be able to give you more details then, because we've got to get some dollar amounts, updated dollar amounts. Brad's working on schematics for that, so we can finalize everything to see, and then we'll bring it to the people and see what they think. But I think the city's basically maybe out of it, so it's just going to be on the county and the railroad now to figure out how to alleviate that. So.
And if you did asphalt that, how many miles is that?
Depending on what we do, we're talking about maybe black topping from 170, which is the next crossing. Maybe the next crossing to the west, past Rocket Fuels there, and that's like a 3/8 of a mile, a quarter mile, something like that, right, Brad? Not too far. That's shorter, less than half. Yeah, to get it to 87th. which is blacktop, so.
Okay.
Be a much shorter distance.
Yeah.
But all that hinges on how dollar amounts and what the railroad's willing to put forth. And we'll know that more. We'll have a meeting, like I said, meeting on Thursday with them at 10 a.m. and we'll tell you more after that.
So does any of that section, is any of that in city limits to where the city would have to be
No.
obligated to pay any of that?
Yeah, it's in the city.
All of it's in the county.
Yeah, that's why they're basically out of it. So
That's all.
Good.
And the only thing I might want to add is so our next board meeting is November 12th. So I think we just determined that that meeting was going to be at 3:00 because since we're closed on Veterans Day, then it gives voters until noon the following day to come in and bring like any identification if they didn't have the proper stuff when they vote at the polls to ensure that their provisional ballots that they cast will be counted. So we'll have our board meeting on that day at 3:00.
Will you be canvassing votes then that day? Is that
Yes.
okay?
Anything else?
I'm Kevin Holzheiser. I'm going to speak on behalf of Dusty Fox Wind. I think it's a little background. Myself, I sat on the compensation board for the county here a number of years. Haven't been there for a while, and we tried to raise the income of the elected officials to bring them up to where they should be comparable counties. And it was the same story every year going back to the county. And it's the same, I hear the same thing as the compensation board moving forward too, is we don't have the money. And here we've got a Dusty Fox going to bring economic development to the county and alleviate some of this tax burden. And I think it'd be a good thing for the community and the county and the ones that want to participate in the project. It isn't forced on anybody. It's voluntary. And I'd like to see the ordinance move ahead. I don't quite understand why we have to vote on it. That's like me wanting to put a barn up on my project and have my neighbors decide whether it's going to be green or brown. It just don't make sense to me. The people that want to participate can participate. I don't see why we have to vote on an ordinance that everybody in the county, including people here in town, get a vote on what I'm going to do out on my farm.
I think what Darren meant by that was more of the public hearing side and let people voice their concerns for and against the ordinance review.
Okay, well, you know,
correct.
this is a good company.
Yeah, we have the process. Our comp plan is over 30 years old. We have to redo our comp.
I don't understand that.
Yeah,
I don't understand why the ordinance has to be tied to the comp plan.
Because apparently we can't do any new ordinances without an updated comp plan.
Who said that?
The state. So we didn't get our paperwork in order yet, but we're hiring MSA to get started on our comp plan. And there's a process that they start on ordinances. What was it, Miranda, like 9 or 10 months out, they start ordinances. So then we start, we do ordinances, we'll get together, do the ordinances, then we have the public hearings on those. And then people can voice their opinions for and against. It ain't no different than a hog confinement or anything like that. If you want a hog confinement, if you want to do it, got no problem with it. But everybody needs to be able to voice their concerns. Doesn't mean it's going to change, but people need to be able to speak their mind and put their opinion forward. And if we don't allow them to voice their opinion,
what are they going to get a vote on? The ordinance or the overall?
They won't get a vote on it. They'll just be able to voice their opinion.
yes,
Ultimately, it's going to be up to us.
yeah,
Okay.
We'll have public hearings, and they'll be able to voice their concerns for or against. Basically, when they're voicing their opinion, they're voting which side they want, how they want to see it. So.
Okay. Well, I just seems like they're,
Yeah.
Dusty
He's not
Fox
gonna
is
do
getting hung
I'm
out
not
here.
gonna do anything behind closed doors and come up with something that's legal and binding without the public knowing what's going on. That ain't gonna happen.
Well, I wouldn't anticipate that happen either.
Yeah, it almost is trying to happen, so.
How so?
How so?
Yeah.
When people are coming up with a developmental plan without anybody else's knowledge, that's not right, so. And they know we have to go through the ordinance process.
Well, my only concern is it's taken a long time to move this thing along. And it doesn't seem like the board is totally on board with bringing economic development into the county.
We are, but it involves more than just Dusty Fox. When you're talking green energy, it's not just Dusty Fox. Green energy is sun. Anything, what they're gonna come up with in the future, we don't know. And you can't just jump into something that's a 50-year deal. In 50 years, you're not gonna be here, I'm not gonna be here. Most people sitting in this room aren't gonna be here. But these are 50-year contracts. So how's that affect the next generation and the generation after that is going to be working the land? So we have to take all that into consideration, not just today.
It's the supervisors reached out to Dusty Fox about far as verbiage to insert in this. I mean, or is that even taken place yet?
No,
It has previously.
Okay.
So I could address a couple things. It's not the state that tells us, it's the attorney that we talked to that was advising us on the plan and the ordinance. So it's if I'm incorrect, Miranda, then please say something.
Yeah.
So that's the process. We revised that way by an attorney. And a development agreement can be entered into. We have that right to do that. And my point with Dusty, with them is that we can negotiate an agreement. We don't have to sign an agreement. We negotiate an agreement, which could speed up the process. My concern is if we just let things play out like it is, we're going to lose the deal. And so I would like to see a development agreement considered, negotiated, because we can. Doesn't mean we're going to sign it or agree to it. And that would help move the process forward. And if I'm incorrect on anything, Randy, please let me know or tell me. So that could be a process.
Well, I'd hate to see them go elsewhere too. And they're a business like any other business. And if Walpole County doesn't want to participate, then they'll go take their work elsewhere. So
well, we
whatever
make sure
can.
we don't have problems like Tama County's got, where the board approved it and they've been sitting stalemate for 2 years, not doing anything because then the people come back and fought it because they passed ordinance without notifying the public. And Dusty Fox is part of that. So we don't want to have a repeat and make sure the public's aware. Because my opinion, me being elected, it's my responsibility to protect the people that want them. There's also the people that don't want them. And as one supervisor of the county that has them says, you're never going to make both sides happy. You just have to find that balance where we can use the money, but we don't want to, overextend ourselves and open doors. And
Those people that don't want them, I've really got a problem with that. I mean, I understand if they're right beside where they're going to be a wind tower, they've got some interest, but I've heard of people that just, I don't like the looks of them. I don't like drive down the road. And I'm from here in Ottumwa, and I don't like drive around the road and see them. Well, I don't buy that. I don't think that that should enter into it.
yeah, and that's part of the reason I'm telling you it's green energy, not just turbines. It's it'd be solar and everything else that will have the same setbacks and everything, the same regulations. So
Yeah.
It's not just one company.
Only one comment that you mentioned about attorneys. Every attorney's got an opinion.
Well, and that's what we've talked to a couple different ones, and I'm continuing to talk to one from Huebner that worked on this previously to see any possibility of an ordinance being laid out, public hearings and things done, even in the process of the comp plan and zoning plans being done.
Yeah.
Because I agree, I'm on both sides of this. I agree both ways. Number one, I want to hear from the people. I want people in here. I want to know, I use an example here. A couple months ago, they wanted to close part of Madison Avenue. I thought it was kind of I don't want to say a sure thing, but why would you not stop the truck traffic, whatever it is? A few of the people that came in threw out a couple issues that kind of hit me. I'm absolutely fine listening to people. That's what we're here for. So I want to try to find some way to move an ordinance forward at the same time the comp plan's being done.
Yeah.
Because I do think there's some conflicting stuff between two different attorneys. And that is something I'm continuing to work toward.
Okay.
So
Just final word, I'd like to see some kind of insurances, whatever
sure.
we don't drag Dusty Fox out a year and a half, and then they find out they haven't got a deal here.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there a firm drop dead date or viability date that the project couldn't go forward?
It's nearing. In March will be 2 years that we've been working with the county, and there was an ordinance proposed from the planning and zoning a year ago, so.
Anyone else?
I'm Ed Akins. I live out off 100th Street, which is out past the hospital down underneath the bridges. My concern is that cold seam joint down through there that's raveling out. Winter's coming, a lot of salt, brine's going to be deposited in there. So I see that this morning that there was a crew working there going out to Bladensburg Road at the Four Corners, patching. I'd like to see that done down past underneath the bridges. And I don't know whether that's your responsibility or the state's responsibility.
What is it? What highway is it?
Which would be considered Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania. So under that.
Underneath the bridges down from the Four Corners down through there, that new piece that the state put in a few years ago. The cold seam joints coming apart, raveling out. It should be fixed before winter.
Brad, can you follow up on that? Check to see if that's state or.
And the city limits is around there somewhere as well.
I think the city ends at the Four Corners.
July, yeah. Bladensburg Road.
Hutchinson.
Yeah.
And there's a few potholes going on out to the end of the blacktop also that needs to be patched. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Anything else for the good of the cause? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thanks, everyone.